You know that feeling when you're about to score 30% off, but they want your number? Ugh. Give them your Line 2 number instead. It's a second line on your phone, perfect for nabbing promo codes without inviting spam to your party. Sign up for every discount under the sun, then block the junk texts that follow. You get all the perks, but none of the spammy baggage. More codes, less chaos. Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store and get your shopping sidekick today. Because the only thing blowing up your phone should be good deals.
Hello to everybody who spends every minute of every day unsure of where things are about to go. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. I know not everybody loves a long intro. This one's about 5.5 minutes, maybe 6. If you skip about 5.5, you'll be right towards the end. If you are skipping it, just know a lot of sex talk in this one, so don't listen with your kids in the car. Don't listen in your work environment. Otherwise, enjoy the call. Hi, everybody. This is Chris Gethard, and welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous, the show where we examine the human condition one anonymous phone call at a time. And man, is that true this week. Can't wait to tell you a little bit more about this week's call. Before I do, a couple quick things. First of all, thanks to everybody who came out and saw my show in Honolulu. That bar, Anna O'Brien's, where it took place, is wild. Instantly became one of my favorite places I've ever performed. But to just give perspective, a caller who listens to the show did DM me and say, I messaged a friend of mine who is in the Navy and stationed in Hawaii and said they should go. They wrote back and said that Navy sailors are banned from going to that venue, which I think is so funny and so badass. But, you know, it's very, very funny because that show was so meaningful to me. It was a bunch of people I'm related to in the audience. It was a handful of random comedy fans, and it was a bunch of Beautiful Anonymous listeners. But it was small. It's probably the least ticket sales I've sold in years. But I also hold that show so close to my heart for so many reasons. And I thank everybody who came out for being there. Also, of course, have to thank my friend Parade Girl, who co-hosted in my stead. We've never had a serious co-host. We had Harry Nelson co-host one show he replacement hosted as a April Fool's joke. We've had Katie Couric host a show with me. Hannibal Burris host a show alongside me. Became very clear people did not like those. There was a lot of backlash immediately to the idea of me having co-hosts. So first ever booked guest host in the history of the show. And I thank our friend Parade Girl for doing it. I thank our old kidney-focused friend for being on the line and the High Priestess for pulling the whole thing off. And so much of the feedback was positive, and I think people understood that I needed to I needed a break. And I'll say, you see a little bit of feedback from some people who just don't like any change of any sort. And I will just beg you, let me take 1 week off every 9 years. Just let me take 1 week off every 9 years. And if you don't like it, you don't have to like drop me a snarky DM. Someone did drop me like a snarky DM, and I just wrote back and went, just respectfully, what are you hoping to accomplish? And to their credit, they went, you know what? I don't know. I shouldn't have sent that. And I do think sometimes we need to remember you're allowed to like things. You're not allowed to not like things. You're allowed to skip forward. You're allowed to re-listen to the ones you love the most. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But when you express negativity through social media or in the online space, and I fall into this as well, I'll just encourage anyone out there, always ask, what will this get me? Will it get me to a goal that will help me in any way? Expressing negativity online, or am I just shouting into a void that seems to reward and amplify the negativity itself? If that's all it's doing, step back from that entire poison system. Melodramatic, but true. Anyway, thank you so much, Parade Girl. Thank you, Kidney Caller. Thank you, Andrea. It was so nice to know that I took a week off and there was a cool experiment happening in my stead. And I'm so glad with how it went. And I'm so lucky you all stepped up. This week's call, can't stress it enough. Buckle up. This caller is a Touchstone subscriber at beautifulanonymous.com. Once a month, people at that tier get a phone number that's just for them. Caller got through. Was very kind, says he's been listening from the beginning. And I do not want to say much at all about what this call is. I'm not certain I could. I do want to say that this caller had a very, very clear and astute understanding of how their vibe inputs with this show. And I will say, some people are going to adore this episode. There are going to be a handful of people that are like, I get it, but I can't. I just can't. There's going to be some people who just react to the vibe. And I respect that. I will say, no matter what, if you are somebody who wants to call Beautiful Anonymous, sometimes people call up and they have a little bit of an agenda or goals or story points they want to get through. And sometimes there's like, you can feel it's not a conversation. This is the exact opposite of that. This one has almost no goals, a hazy agenda. I still am not certain why this caller picked up the phone and called or what they hope to accomplish. But did they understand that if they just got in here with me, that we could figure it out and almost in a way that's like surfing, just catch a wave and ride it? Absolutely. They went for it. I applaud them for it. Also, to bring it back to last week's episode, Parade Girl posted a very nice thing on Instagram that was like, that was really fun, but also, guys, like, that job is harder than we realized, and Chris is good at it. And that meant a lot to realize, like, I have learned a lot through 9 years of conversation, and the caller you're about to hear today trusted in me as someone who's a conversationalist and then threw me for many loops, and there was a lot of joy along the way. Like I said, I'm not going to say too much more because I don't really know what to say. I do just want to say, not really a trigger warning, but just there's some really honest discussions of sex. So I wouldn't necessarily listen to this one with your kids in the car, or like if you're at a workstation at a shared workspace. Just know, like, unapologetic, not bashful at all discussions of sex in a way that some of you are going to lose your minds for. And I can't wait to hear the conversations surrounding it. Enjoy this call, everybody.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello.
Hey, is this Mr. Gethard?
Yeah, thank you so much for showing me proper respect.
For sure, always. You're one of my favorite authors.
Thank you so much. People don't usually lead with the books, but I'll take it.
My bookshelf plays a very prominent role in my living area, so I see your work often, and I really like the zine too.
Oh, you got your copy. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
I was happy. Really, I'll tell you, I was really, really happy to make it. Everything would come in the post office box, and I would kind of giggle with glee. And then when our friend Alexis laid it all out, I was like, whoa, this looks significantly better than I thought it could. I think probably the people getting their copies would agree, like, oh, it's like a real thing. And then Andrea and I talked, and we were like, should we go hire one of those companies where you give them a spreadsheet of addresses? And Andrea and I both were like, no, part of the spirit of Beautiful Anonymous is you write the person's name on the envelope. You stick the stamps on. That's part of the fanzine culture. That's part of Beautiful Anonymous. Our show is independent now. It's reflective. And that proved to be a true mistake that I regret. I wish I had just paid someone to do all the mail for us. It is taking a very long time.
I just saw I just saw your post. Can I say some beautiful anonymous related stuff real quick?
You can do whatever you want. I can already tell that you're a ball buster who gets this show, but that you're out here to bust some balls.
Oh, yeah.
So you do whatever you want. I can tell how this one's going to go. I'm following your lead.
I wanted to say a message to Ron Paul's baby, or anyone who has ever identified with Ron Paul's baby.
Yeah.
You're beautiful. You're wonderful. Keep going, and also give yourself credit for how much you've done already. Because sometimes it feels like, I don't know, we just like, if we don't keep going, then like we've done nothing. But like we've done so much already. So like, give yourself credit, and you rock. That's what I like to say. I like to say you rock.
I love you reaching back to the first ever caller in the history of the show to tell him he rocks, based on a call that he placed over 9 years ago now.
I remember where I was the first time I heard that. I was sitting in the break room of the local art store, and I fit the stereotype of callers a little bit, but also I feel like I break the stereotype just a touch too.
That's cool. Already liking your vibe. Already can tell that you're a chaos bringer and that you enjoy some good mischief.
Oh yeah. A lot of people are just confused when they meet me. They're like, what are you on? And I'm like, and then my friends are just like, no, he's just like this. So how are you doing? Are you doing all right today?
I tell you, I'm really good. I did take a vacation, which was great. And I saw a bunch of family in Hawaii. I was out there with Hallie and Cal. They had a great time. But when you hustle and grind like your old pal Gethard does, it's not like that. It just means you come home and everything's piled up and waiting for you, you know? So that's where I'm at. Digging myself out from under it. Digging myself out from under it.
There's a great independent band that you might like called Full Service, and they have an album called The Dig, and you can't find it on streaming services because they're so independent that you have to go find it from them. That. But I know The Dig, both the music and the piles. I just finished all my piles, and I started some new ones.
What's your story, man? What is your story? What the hell is happening?
I told all my friends when I was a kid that I was born on Neptune, and then one of them actually believed it, and then like I discovered the power of lying, and that really freaked me out because like it made him sad when I told him that I had lied to him, where I told him I was from Neptune. And like I thought I was having fun, but really I was kind of discovering like the joy of improv comedy. But I was actually lying because I was doing it in like I was on my front porch, which is like a trusting home place, and I was like, "Can I tell you something I've never told anyone before? Like, I'm from Neptune." And he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. It took a long time to get here." But he was younger than me, and then we were best friends, and then we drifted apart, and then I kept on living and telling the truth a lot more often.
That's the perfect answer to what's your story. It's the perfect answer.
Recently I quit my job. I don't know if I quit or I felt like I was pushed out of it. The manager was an awesome dude. It was just a bunch of weird stuff that came together at the right time to make the wrong thing happen. But yeah, I worked at a state park. And then I'm in a run club, and I never ran before because my knee hurt because I fell off of a jungle gym when I was like 14 years old. And then I was like, I can't run. But then I started going to run club, because it was at the bar, and I was already at the bar. And then I started like, I should go running, because I used to like to do that. And then the more I ran, the stronger my knee got, and it doesn't even hurt anymore. And it like really taught me, holy crap, like you can do hard things and it gets better. And then, but everyone in Run Club, they keep just bugging me. They're like, so what are you going to do, man? You quit your job. Like, what do you do? And I just tell them, I'm like, I want to fuck. And they're like, but you can't make any money fucking. And I'm like, maybe you're focusing on the wrong thing. I'm not looking for money. Like, I'm looking for love. And then I found love.
Wait, are you?
So I have a love story.
Wait, you said you want to fuck?
Yeah, because it just pisses me off how people just, all they care about is what's your job. You know, like when they say like, what do you do? What do you want to do? What they really mean is like, how do you make money? How do you want to make money? And I think it should be acceptable to answer that question. I mean, certainly making money is important, but I think it should be acceptable to answer the question. Like if somebody says, what do you do and what do you want to do? It should be okay to answer with something other than your job.
This is the most...
I'm sort of like forcing
this
that.
This is the most amazing answer to what's your deal that I've ever heard.
I could tell you my deal.
Once told someone you're from Neptune, and when people ask you what you want to do in life, you say you want to fuck. This is the call I've been dreaming of.
Oh yeah,
since we launched this show.
Well,
it's a call I've been dreaming of.
I've been listening. I've been listening from Neptune. I got your signal.
Whenever you've heard me tell the story where I'm like, it went in a more serious direction, I kind of just figured it would be like weird artsy kids calling up and screwing with me. Have you always just quietly clocked that of like, all right, man, someday?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not screwing with you.
I can tell you're just being who you are.
What's so cool about the show is it's so genuine. And I wanted to shout out like the caller who like met their partner at like the feather jewelry store or something and like had all this spiritual insight. Like that was amazing to listen to her talk. And then I really like the caller who was like, where are your toes? Can you feel your toes right now? So this and like the cool people who have called in inspired me to try to be a cooler person.
I love this.
Yeah. And actually, I'm wondering, yeah, because I've got no worries. I do know some people who have to stay anonymous, so I'll have to be okay about what I say about them. But yeah, it's good stuff. I had a pretty basic middle class upbringing. My parents are Catholic. I never got confirmed. And then I started listening to Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails and Slipknot and Tool, and that didn't quite do it for me. But I could tell there was something there, like that was all cool stuff and cool people making cool stuff, but it was like a little weird. Like something just didn't sit right with me, and like especially all the like depressing stuff in there. But then in college, I got introduced to this band that like sort of set the course for the rest of my life, and it's independent music, man.
So, are you a musician?
I would call myself a musician. Yeah, I've been quietly practicing. Well, maybe loudly practicing. I was sort of thinking about how it all started the other day, and a similar thing in my childhood home. We weren't allowed to lock the doors in the house.
Okay.
So one time, I think it might have been my brother walked in on me when I was on the toilet. I was like, I can't. This is like the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like, even though I know my sibling, like, I don't know. There was just this like idea of privacy and like having that privacy be broken. I was like, oh, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me, and I can't let it ever happen again. So I decided I was just always going to make noise when I was on the toilet. And so first I started like producing my own radio show. Like I was the DJ and then I would make the music, but I didn't know the lyrics to any songs because like I cannot remember song lyrics to save my life. So I'd make these weird noises. And it started off, I would go like, and then it evolved into like, and then I'd make like full songs like, yeah, but I'm getting a little excited.
Well, we have 47 minutes left, and if it's just that for 47 minutes, I will sit in literal silence. So you're a musician, mostly making mouth sounds.
Yeah, mouth music. It's like beatboxing, but I don't know how to beatbox. So the main reason why I do it the way that I do it is because I want to be able to hum at the same time. So I can only make noises that I can do while humming. And like I think it started, a big influence was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when that guy is like sitting there making the like, you know, that noise.
That was remarkable. That was remarkable how you just reproduced that noise.
There's a billion different ways to do it, and I know most of them. And it's like my favorite thing. And I started trying to teach people, but everybody gets like scared. I don't know. I need to really like sit down with somebody and see.
Why do people get scared?
Can you not? I don't know. I think people, well, this is another thing I wanted to talk about. Like, people are scared of their own creativity. Like, so if somebody starts doing something and then they can't get it, I don't know if it's like shame or fear but they stop pretty quickly. And I actually, after I worked at the art store, I got poached by a business owner who was running one of those paint and sip businesses.
Yeah.
Where you like pay to have your birthday party and somebody teaches you how to paint like an owl sitting on a tree in the sunset. And I noticed, because I've been in arts all my life. And I noticed that people were, when they would finish their paintings or even while they were painting, they did not like their own, but they liked other people's. And that made a huge impact on me. And I tried to convince people, like, look at your art as if somebody else made it. Like, sometimes that can be even more scarier, but sometimes you can start to see little things in there, like, oh, well, if somebody else had made that, I would tell them, I like the little curlicue here on the owl's feather. But most people, they're like, if I made it, I just say like, oh, I really messed up the eyes. But if you talk about somebody else's stuff, they'll say what they love about it. And I'm like, what is going on here? Everybody's afraid to make their own noise, but they love other people's noises. I was even I'll give a shout out to one of the greatest guitar players of all time. He teaches at Berklee College of Music. His name's David Kuzinski. And he was given like an Instagram story the other day. And he was like, he was using his very deep voice to talk about an upcoming show. And first of all, I just loved it because it was an artist promoting their own work, which is great. And then I was like, dude, I love your voice. And he was like, I've always hated my voice. I was like, what are you talking about? You have an amazing voice. And it's like, everybody's afraid of their own thing, but they love other people's thing. And I even liked, when I called in and heard the recording, your voice sounds really cool on like the little disclaimer, like, hey, don't be nervous.
How do you earn money that pays your rent? I'm trying to ask questions very specifically out of respect for the fact that you're someone who likes non-linear answers.
Well, and it's funny because when other people call into the show, I'm like, what the hell? They didn't even talk about their sex life or their job. Like, this is ridiculous. I need to know. So like, even though I say that it bugs me, I do know it's important, but I just can't have it be the only thing. So yeah, currently I am earning money from everything that the state owes me, from making me work all the time and not allowing me to take a vacation. So I was working at the state park, and basically none of the supervisors supervise anyone. none of the employees want to do any work. And then the administrator, which is me, I'm sitting in front of a computer. Everyone else works at the state park because they don't want to sit in front of a computer all day, which is most people, it seems like. Yeah. And so they're like, well, the guy sitting in front of the computer, he should do all the work. And that was me. And, yeah, I was the only one there. I was supposed to have 4 other coworkers. They couldn't keep people on staff because the job is so ridiculous. It's just, we spend $1 million per year paying a third-party company to take our calls to book the campsites, and no one even picks up the phone when you call that $1 million company. Like, the third parties aren't doing their job, and then the state's contracting all this money. Anyway, so it felt like I was the only one working. I know that's not really how it is. My boss worked very, very hard. I think he was also burnt out. He never wanted to be the superintendent, but he's an amazing guy. But anyway, I couldn't handle it. So I left the state park system, and I had a bunch of vacation time that I was never able to use. And so they owed me basically like 3 or 4 weeks paid vacation because they never let me take it. And so I'm using that to coast a little bit right now. Got a modeling gig coming up.
Really?
I've got potential artist commissions coming in. And it's weird because I've been an artist my whole life, but luckily I've been able to find a path where I get better as I grow older, which used to piss me off when people said it. I was like, it's not going to get better. I've read the headlines and it's going to get worse. I'm like, no, it does get better. It's okay. So, but yeah, currently I have very little money coming in. The person I just fell in love with said that I'm so good in the bedroom that I can stay home and they can pay all the bills. I don't know if that's a very nice gesture, but I don't think that's really going to happen. So I'm thinking of trying to get a job at the local ice cream store since we don't have Italian ice where I am.
So the answer, it sounds like you're currently between gigs.
Yes. But I want to work at that Italian ice place in was it like New Mexico where that person was calling from, where they were starting an Italian ice place?
Oh yeah, that was a good idea.
Or Arizona.
That's a fantastic idea.
I'm thinking of moving down there so I can get some of the sopapillas. I've had sopapillas, but the way that y'all described it, it sounds much better than what I've had.
Yeah, you are truly one of the greatest callers in the history of this show. Follow-up questions. Okay, so you
standing on the shoulders of giants.
Pause it right there. This caller, standing on the shoulders of giants. What a kind, respectful, and also completely ridiculous thing to say. What a caller. What a delight. I'm delighted to know you're out there in the world. We'll be right back. I've been wearing glasses since 3rd grade, and I think I've had every experience shopping with glasses you can have. Sometimes you go and you get your eye test and you feel like somebody is immediately strong-arming you into making a decision right then and right there, and you don't know what or sometimes you find someplace that goes, this is an online outlet where the glasses only cost 75 cents, and you show up and 3 days later they fall apart because guess what? They cost 75 cents. It's always been something where I feel stressed. It's always been something where I feel a little bit in the hands of others in a way that doesn't feel safe. It's my actual ability to see that's on the line. Shopping for glasses can cause anxiety. Warby Parker changed all that. Warby Parker changed the game. Warby Parker changed the game years ago. I knew that then, and they continue to change the game now. First of all, let's just get this out of the way. The ease of Warby Parker is incredible. You can shop with them online, at home, or in stores. So your comfort level, you can do it everywhere. Warby Parker offers everything you need for happier eyes. Eyeglasses, sunglasses, contacts, eye exams. They have over 270 retail locations across the US and Canada where you can get styled by one of their friendly expert advisors. But the quality is there. the idea that I ordered glasses through Warby Parker, I know they're not going to show up all beat up. I know it's not going to be junk. They use premium materials in each frame. Warby Parker designs every frame in-house. The collection includes silhouettes, colors, fits made to suit every face. It's kind of the best of all worlds as far as the glasses experience. And also the glasses start at $95 and include prescription lenses with anti-reflective, scratch-resistant coatings. Those things are really should be the standard. And the idea here of these are not going to be the cheapo ones that fall apart the second you try to put them on, but they're also not going to price gouge you, and you're not going to have to go to the bank and take out a loan just to be able to see. It's incredible. And I really applaud them for changing the game in the way they have. You can add a pair and save 15% when you purchase 2 or more prescription pairs of glasses or sunglasses. That offer is available both at home and in stores. There's free shipping. There's free 30-day returns. I just ordered a new pair of glasses through Warby Parker. They're great. It was easy. The quiz makes you feel like they're covering all their bases. And I'll tell you, as soon as I started wearing them, people in my life started noticing new glasses, huh? Oh, new glasses. Like they're visibly higher quality than chunkier pairs of glasses that have come and gone from my life. There's nothing bad to say about Warby Parker. Like I said, I've been wearing glasses 35 years now. It's very cool to see someone take so much of the stress and pressure out of this process. Warby Parker has over 270 locations to help you find your next pair of glasses. You can also head over to warbyparker.com/beautiful right now to try on any pair virtually. That's warbyparker.com/beautiful, warbyparker.com/beautiful. I love Fast Growing Trees. Fast Growing Trees is such a cool service. I honestly can't believe it. It's the best. It's the best. Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the United States. They have thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers. We're talking about fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, so much more. Every plant your yard might need. Whatever plant you are interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and your space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online, get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, you can get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and learn how to care for them. I was blown away by the Fast Growing Trees experience. I get out there, I work really hard on my lawn. Hallie handles the trees, the shrubs, the flowers, all of that stuff, but we connect on it. It's really nice. We connect as a couple through just, oh, what should we do here and there? But I also know sometimes you go and you get a tree from like a sapling giveaway and the deer come and they eat it immediately because it's so pitiful and small. Or sometimes you go and get a tree from a place and you realize, man, they've been blasting it with these chemicals and it's not even researched if it's right for our region and it dies in your yard. Like so many aspects of it that are stressful and hard. Fast Growing Trees. Hallie and I sit there. We had so much fun. Went through, able to type in the region of the world we lived in Jersey, gave us a list of native species. So we knew we were planting stuff that wasn't invasive, stuff that would add to the ecology, stuff that would be good for the birds and the bees and all the critters that live in our particular neck of the woods. A few days later, this tree shows up. I come home, I go, what is this box that's taller than I am? I open it up, I go, they're not kidding. They mailed me a tree. There's a tree mailed to my front stoop, and this tree is healthy. It's ready to be planted. I went ahead, dug the hole. Hallie and I got there out there again as a couple, and now we have this tree. We have this black gum tree that I know. That's the tree that Hallie and I planted, and it was streamlined, and it was easy, and there was no stress. We didn't have to, to get a tree that big also, you got to borrow a friend's pickup truck. You got to get down there. You got to wrap it up. You got to put out the moving blankets. No. Or someone can drop it off at your door and say, this is a native species to your area. Have fun. Go plant it. Create a memory. Reshape your space with your loved one. Fast Growing Trees is here to make it all go well. Can't stress enough how easy it was, how above board it was, and how fun it was, honestly. Big yard, small yard, even if you have no yard, there's over 6,000 plants that can fit any space, from indoor plants to fruit trees, full-size privacy trees, and more. They have a 14-point quality checklist to make sure you're getting the best quality plants possible. Every plant comes with instructions and tips on how to care for your new plant so they can grow to their fullest potential. This spring, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code BEAUTIFUL at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code BEAUTIFUL at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code is BEAUTIFUL. Now it's the perfect time to plant. Use BEAUTIFUL to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Thanks to all of our advertisers. Now let's get back to the phone call.
Standing on the shoulders of giants.
He used to work. He used to work at a national park.
Yeah,
Didn't love it. Government owes you some paid time off.
It was actually state park, which I should say, because that actually confuses people. People come to the state park and they say, "Hey, I have a free park pass." We're like, actually, that's the national pass. It doesn't work at state parks. And people think like, "Oh, well, the state is part of the nation, so it should be both, right?" Nope, totally separate systems. So there's national parks, state parks, separate from county parks, even separate from city parks. They're all different administrations.
Okay, got it. Now, you mentioned along the way a few things I want to follow up on. You picking up some modeling work.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Artist model, posing for painters.
What's that?
So not fashion modeling, artist modeling. So there's a good art community here, and there's actually some people who are retired who, they made all the money and now they're hanging out. I mean, they're actually working really hard. I'm actually inspired by how hard they work at increasing their painting skills, even though they have a house and land and they could just chill. Like, they're like, no, I'm going to become a better painter every day. And so they hire friends and trusted people to pose for them so they can paint and practice life drawing and life painting.
Okay. Between gigs, picking up some modeling. Now, it's the second time it's come up, so I'm a little nervous to even ask. You mentioned before that when people ask you what you want to be doing, your answer sometimes is fucking. You also mentioned that your current partner says you're so good at fucking that should be your job. It does seem like you have a unique and healthy relationship with your sexuality, lovemaking, or as you've referred to it multiple times, just straight up fucking.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, as someone who was raised Catholic, that's not, didn't come out of the womb like that. But I found my way with some help from my friends.
Explain to me your journey with the concept of fucking, how you got so into it that you list it as your primary interest in what you want your life to be about, and how you got so good at it that you get compliments stating that you could be professional in your fucking. With your
I might have to write that down, because if I start answering one of the topics, I'll get off track. And so let me write that down. Oh yeah, here's my list of stuff I wanted to talk about. I do have a question prepared for the bonus content. I love the bonus content, usually, in my opinion, even better than the regular show. Let me see. So journey. He said, how did I get good? Was there another part of that?
Your journey with fucking, how you got so good at it that you've had partners say it should be your profession, and why it's something you choose to speak about as far as your identity instead of your job, where many people will list their job.
Gotcha.
You list fucking.
There we go. Okay, got it. So my journey, and this could get super awkward, but I think I called into the right show for things that could get awkward. Is that correct?
I think so.
So, let's see. Yeah, weirdness all around. This could be, maybe this is what I should make a podcast about. It could be, I've got hours and hours of content on this. Yeah, starting off, what's actually weird is when I was a little kid, I had zero self-esteem. And that's one of my big topics that I want to like share to the world is self-esteem. When I was a kid, both of my parents were very health conscious. And I started gaining some weight in like in like fourth grade. And I was on the swim team. And that, that all that extra, I mean, not even extra. That's the weird part is I still can't get it out of my head. Like it was in my head, I had like extra weight that was like spilling out of my swimsuit, but like that wasn't extra. That was just me. It's okay. But like I had really bad self-esteem because I feel like our culture doesn't allow people to be people. And it also makes it very hard to be healthy. So there's like two things going crazy against each other at the same time. Everybody's fine, but nobody feels fine. Or I didn't feel fine. And I thought that no one would ever love me and that, you know, I was just a mess. And like, just like you reacted to me, like you like, oh, you're a little different or something. And I was like, why the heck? I feel like I'm just like everybody else. Like what? But people would always react to me and make it seem like I was different or something. And that kind of freaked me out. And so then I just basically like, even before like fifth grade, I remember thinking like, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Before I had even ever asked anyone on a date because I just had no self-confidence. And then it was weird. Like I didn't even understand attraction. Like, and what was weird was like a commercial would come on. And of course, like the commercials in America are basically pornography. And my younger friend who I had lied to and told him I was from Neptune, he would see those commercials come on. He'd be like, oh yeah, look at her body. And I was like, what the heck is he talking about? Turns out 20 years later, we would find out he was actually queer, which is awesome. But he was so afraid of people thinking he was different that he felt like he had to like ogle women's bodies just to fit in. But he was like 10 years old. Like, and so I was confused, like, why is he so attracted to these commercials? Like, I didn't feel like I needed to yell out at the Super Bowl. And so then I was like, is my attraction something different too? Because like the other people, and it turns out the other people were performing, which is, yeah. Yeah. So then what was it like I remember in seventh grade, I had a crush on a girl and I still never learned to type because I just talked to this girl the whole time, but I never asked her on a date or anything. I was like, if we went on a date, we wouldn't be able to do anything. And like, I didn't understand like anything about kissing or any of that stuff. Cause my childhood was just so sheltered. Like I just played in the creek. But, then what was it? Like ninth grade, it was strange because some of my friends let me sit at the lunch table with them. And then I got to know everybody. And then there was this one girl who, when I first got to meet her, because I still had all that nonsense in my head about the way people are like should look according to society, I was like, oh, I can't be attracted to her because she doesn't look like the people on the magazines. And then by the time I finished that school year and it was about to be summer, I was like feeling the beginnings of like falling in love. And I was like, I don't want school to end and I don't want summer to happen because then I won't get to have lunch and sit beside her and tell jokes all day. And like, we weren't even hitting on each other. We were just friends, but I was very attracted to her, by becoming friends. And so I like, this was back before, when was this? Was this before social media? This was before social media. So I had to send her an email and I was like, will you go on a date with me? And I guess it made it easier that it was about to be summer, because then if she said no, I wouldn't have to see her for the next several months. But she said yes, and we went on a couple dates, and I could actually walk to her house from my house, and we met up and like walked to her aunt's house where we could go to the creek. And I was so nervous, I puked in the bushes at her aunt's house because I held a girl's hand. Yeah. So that's where it all started. Does that make sense?
No, but that's okay. I'm still very into it. I mean, you're starting at the very beginning of even the remotest inkling of sexual attraction being a factor in your young life, as the question of how did you get so good at fucking that it's such a major part of your identity, and people say you should be professional at it.
I think all that stuff is so important.
You just went on. I know, but keep in mind, you just gave it like a 6-minute intro that led to you touching a girl's hand at a creek, which is the most innocent story I've ever heard, and miles away from how did you unleash some sort of inner beast that's so good at fucking. That's the intro to the intro.
All related, because
I get it, but let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Let's get where we're going.
As someone who has the patience to read a book, I maybe I'm a little different than some people. Yeah, I swear that's so important. All this early childhood stuff is so important, and that's why everyone's in therapy now. And then freaking like all we hear on the radio. I mean, there's a lot of great musicians out there, but I feel like a lot of mainstream music is like people who have been abused by their producers or are abusing other people, and they're addicted to drugs. There's a lot of great drug addicts out there. There's a lot of great people in recovery, but I think it's weird that when we turn on the radio and we hear abusers and addicts talk about sex, but maybe they should be talking about their feelings from when they were a child.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that.
I get you. You don't need to convince me. Where are you at today? Because you brought it up a couple times. What about your sexual abilities in bed has you so personally enthralled by your own sexual performance, and has others giving you such high praise?
Basically, the two things is, number one, I listen to my partner, and number two, I listen to myself.
Okay.
So, I fast forward a bunch of years. I had a period of time that I called my erection quest, which is actually a throwback to another podcaster who no one will ever know. But I could not get hard because I was so addicted to pornography, and that stuff is bad for you. I think trying to avoid it 100% is ridiculous. Like, it can be a healthy part of someone's life, but if you go deep down in the rabbit hole, you got some explaining to do, and you're gonna feel the consequences. So yeah, I couldn't be with a real person because I was so used to the digital. And then I had a partner who we liked the same music, and she was really nice to me. You know, the first couple times we tried to do anything, it didn't work. And she was just very patient with me, and I felt so much care and respect from her that it made me feel okay. And then things started getting good because everyone else had either I was ashamed and I never called the person back, or they were ashamed and they never called me back. But this person, we had something built in place already, basically based on music. So we had a mutual understanding, and we worked on it together. And then I would ask, like, is the whole like constant consent thing, like, is this okay? Can I try this? And yeah, it turns out in that relationship, I didn't get along with the person super well because I was still battling a lot of demons, and they were too. But in the bedroom, everything was amazing, and it made a big difference in my life. And then even you can go on Instagram now, and there will be women who say like, "Hey guys, here's how you're supposed to do it," And like, I saw one of those videos a couple weeks ago, tried it with my new partner. They were like, that was amazing. Who are you? I was like, I'm literally just a guy who listens to what a woman says and did what she said.
I mean, I love the idea of listening to your partner. I love coupling that with the idea of listening to yourself. I think that's great advice for everybody in the bedroom and also beyond in so many areas of relationship building. That's
a big part of it because...
Yeah, you go.
No, what does it sound like? I can remember what I was going to say.
Well, I was just going to say, I love that you're not sitting here going, I grew up sheltered and Catholic, and here's this cute story about I touched a girl's hand, but then turns out I actually have a monster hog and know how to blow everybody away, and the way that I please people is unparalleled. That the answer is much more, I cooled it with the pornography and became a better listener in the bedroom. I do really like that.
100%. Yeah.
For all of your scatterbrained mayhem, I think that there is something really touching and beautiful about that.
Yeah. I do have a big dick, though. That is part of it. But I had a relationship because I was not... the condoms are good. I was not so good with the condoms. And I did have something that I had to wait a while for it to get taken care of. And during that time, I was in a relationship where I could not use my penis, and I had only other stuff. And that was actually a really good time for me. So yeah, you don't even need a penis. And I mean, obviously, everyone else already knows that, but like, I was late to learning.
Okay, so many reactions to that. Hearing that there was a stretch where your penis was actually out of commission and it forced you to become more skilled with foreplay, touching, oral sex.
Yes.
You see, here you go. Life hands you lemons. If those lemons are limp, you squeeze them and you make lemonade. I like hearing that. Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin, maybe he stole some stuff. Still a good band, in my opinion. The Lemon Song is the real deal. You also do have a big giant ween, though, huh?
Not giant. Not anything like what they have in pornography. But there's a bell curve somewhere that I'm on. I never took calculus, but I know about bell curves.
Now, you're doing, you understand you're crushing this call. You understand that this is an all-timer. You can feel that. Let's not be bashful.
It's not that strange to me because this is how I talk to everyone. And it freaks a lot of people out and a lot of people leave. But the people who have stuck around, they dig me and I dig them. And
I
mutual and reciprocal.
I very much dig you. I was going to say, you also understand the charming nature of this. You listen to the show, and you have for a long time, it sounds like. Excuse me.
I did forget that I was on the show. I thought I was talking to you.
We're just vibing. Well, I do find myself inclined to say, so, you were working at the park. Now you're picking up modeling gigs, collecting your compiled PTO. You're making a lot of love, gaining a lot of compliments in that realm. I'm very fascinated to know what happens if I ask you, have you thought about a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? Or do you not even consider that far out? I mean, how do I think this answer is going to go? What do I think? You're going to ask this caller about their 10-year plan? What? I can't wait to see how it goes. Anyway, we'll be right back. Ah, sweet Quince. Sweet Quince It's Mother's Day, and I'm so happy to talk about Quince. Quince is a company that does things the right way. Quince is a company that has given me confidence. Quince is something I can tell you about with absolute certainty in my voice because everything they claim has been 100% true to my experience. And man, am I lucky. For real. To have a couple Quince sweaters in my closet. I'll tell you why in a second. First off, though, maybe you have no idea what to get mom for Mother's Day. Ever been there? Especially when mom hits you with the classic, don't get me anything. And then all of a sudden you're going, well, I'm getting you something and you're only making it harder, right? Maybe you want to give her something that feels special. Quince solves that problem. Everything's high quality, feels super thoughtful, actually affordable. Don't overthink it. Go straight to Quince. There's cashmere sweaters from $50, 14 karat gold jewelry, Italian leather bags, fragrances, and more. The best part, all Quince items are priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. By partnering directly with top factories, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to people like us. And on top of it, Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices, premium fabrics and finishes. How can you not love that? You have to be ethical and responsible as a consumer these days, and Quince is doing a lot of that legwork for you. It's such a beautiful thing. And I've said it a million times. If you ever see me out there in a nice looking sweater in any picture, or if I ever am doing a live show and you're like, man, he looks good in that sweater, it's one of my Quince sweaters. They look good. They feel great. They hold up better than sweaters that I've spent so much more money on. These brands that are supposed to be like premium brands where they fall apart quicker and I never like the fit half as much. Quince just brings the heat, throws fastballs, and is everything they say that they are. Okay, Quince is thoughtful, timeless, totally her. Shop Mother's Day at Quince. Go to quince.com/beautiful for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/beautiful. Get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/beautiful. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. It is so easy to find personal information about people online, easier than ever. Your address, your phone number, family members' names, their addresses, all this stuff hanging out on the internet, it can have really actual bad consequences in the real world. Makes everybody vulnerable. And more, there's this whole very dark cottage industry where these nefarious actors find this data and use it for bad purposes. Some of them are very obvious, but also targeting political rivals and civil servants, outspoken citizens who post their opinions online. It's really so wild to see how much privacy is being encroached on these days. And I'm telling you, I am somebody who's lived very publicly. For many, many years, my career has needed me to be very online as a DIY artist, plugging shows, trying to connect with people. It has also fomented a few situations in my life where I felt like lines were getting crossed, where I actually started to wonder if I was safe, if my family was safe. This is real, coming from my gut. It was very, very necessary for me to try to protect and lock down my own privacy. Delete Me stepped up to the plate for me. And when I tell you that they found so many places where my info was out there and they removed it, and I felt like, man, somebody actually has my back. It was a huge feeling of relief. It's also a service where they go back every few months, recheck every single site. If the info goes back up, they do their job again. And I feel safer individually, as a parent, as a homeowner, all these ways that my privacy is something that I really know has a lot of value to me. They're out there helping me protect it. A+ service would never, ever bring up my kid or my home if it wasn't something that I 100% stand by. If you ever see me in person, I'll tell you the same thing. Delete Me has done really, really right by me and my family, and it's a quality service. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private. Sign up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Use promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Code beautiful. Thanks again to all our callers. Now let's finish off the phone call. I'm very fascinated to know what happens if I ask you, have you thought about a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? Or do you not even consider that far out?
That's a good question. 1-year plan is basically based around my apartment. I've had roommates most of my life. I just looked at, anyway, I'll try to answer directly. 1-year plan is renew my lease on my apartment and stay together with my partner. Most of the time, my 1-year plan has been based around, what am I going to do to make money? And that led me in some directions. But now it's like I actually have a home that I enjoy, which is very rare. I've had homes where I couldn't even sleep because it was so loud. I actually have a place where I can live, which is amazing. And so I'm starting with the foundations of, I've been dating someone for about 1 month and it's going really well. It's the most understood I've ever felt. And I've lived in this apartment for 3 years. I've made it my own. Advice I got from somebody else, like I didn't know how to make an apartment comfortable, but finally figured it out. So that's where I'm starting. But yeah, like I said, my 1-year plan is we have a lot of really bad drivers here. I think I might try to become a driving instructor. I haven't looked into what sort of certifications or qualifications I need for that right now.
Are there any areas of life where you've looked into the certifications or qualifications? I can't imagine any area of life where you sit there and look up qualifications or certifications necessary. It does not sound like where you are at.
I do. One of my biggest heroes definitely figures things out on the fly. So,
who's that?
Gosh. I don't want to blow him up because he's got his own thing going. If you know a dude who bought his own island in Panama and raises his family, as sustainably as possible, that's who I'm talking about. But I don't want to blow him up because he's got his own thing going on. But yeah, what was I trying to say? Oh yeah. So yeah, 1 year. My current plan is actually also a little bit inspired by you. You've recommended road trips for people.
Yeah, very healthy.
I learned that I don't have to go on the road trip. I can just hear about other people's road trips. So there was a coworker who I met at the park who I stayed in touch with, and I was just like, "Hey, can you tell me about your road trip?" And she was always just like, "No, I'm too busy." But like, we knew that each other were like old soul artists, like depressive oriented, but like very optimistic people. And so we stayed in touch. She finally called me from the road trip one night when she needed somebody to talk to. It was like one of the best conversations I've ever had. So you don't necessarily have to go on the road trip. You can talk to somebody else who's on the road trip. But I'm going to go on a road trip. I'm going to go up to a friend's wedding. And that's basically about a month from now. So my only plan is just make as much art as possible until that road trip, get back from the road trip, and then figure it out.
I love that was your answer to 1 year, 5 year, and 10-year plan.
Yep. I did have one thing that I wanted to mention, which came up in my head a few times while we were talking. You know that guy, Rainn Wilson?
Yeah, he's a friend.
So have you read his book, Soul Boom?
I have.
Would you be willing to talk about that book with me? Because that book helped me so much, and I would be very curious what your opinion of it was.
I think it's really good. I think his Soul Boom podcast is also really good, and I also, I acted on The Office in some scenes with Rainn, we hit it off. I think got a big kick out of each other in the course of doing that. And I was very impressed by just the way he carried himself on set.
Yeah.
And we always managed to stay in touch after that. And I actually really admire him because he played this iconic character. He's a really fantastic character.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really fantastic actor. I think that character will always live in the forefront of some people's minds. I think probably is someone that when a lot of people see him walking down the street, they don't think that's Rain. They think that's Dwight. And I could imagine that being hard and heavy at times. But the fact that he has then turned so many of his efforts towards saying, like, how do you be a happy, well-adjusted person? How do you get in touch with spirituality in the modern world? How are different people doing that and building versions of that for themselves? I think his book, his podcast, a lot of his environmental efforts, I think they all connect to that. And I sit there and I go,
I didn't even know that some of that stuff that he's doing.
Yeah. I sit here and go, what a really unique and specific life. And what a very, very cool way to use your platform to explore a bunch of things that are important to you. I really admire Rain.
Yeah.
He's actually reached out to me about being on the Soul Boom podcast, and we haven't found a time that works yet because we don't live in the same city.
Oh, I didn't know he still made it. I thought last time I looked at it, it wasn't being updated or something. Maybe I missed it up.
I believe it still is.
Some people have commented on the ranking of your podcast in their podcast order. And I will say the reason I did not know very much about Soul Boom podcast is because Beautiful Anonymous is my number one, baby.
Thanks.
It's the only show I listen to every single episode.
Thank you so much. That's deeply meaningful. Yeah, it does look like Soul Boom still comes out every week.
Liked about... Oh, shit. Oh, damn. Can I tell you some things I liked about his book?
Yeah.
So, of course, there's a prelude, but I was driving in the car home from my terrible job at the state park, and I heard an interview with him on NPR because, of course, I listen to NPR. But he was like, they were like, how do you know that like God is real or something like that? And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a silly answer. And then he said, he was like, it's like, I focus on the love that I feel in my life, and the love that I feel in my life is so powerful and strong that it connects me to something bigger. And I was like, holy shit, I want that in my life because I love being wrong. And that's what I think. I think a lot of people think that in order to be a learner, you have to love being right. I'm actually a learner because I love being wrong. And I've been wrong about so many things. Like I could listen to this years from now and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. But I love being wrong because that means I'm learning. And I used to get so obsessed with like, because I came from the Catholic Church, I was like, there's nothing out there. This is all just a money-making scheme. And I was so against everything. But then it became fun to be against myself. But of course, I had terrible experiences being against myself in the wrong way, where like I've been to the deepest, darkest places humans can go. But I'm glad I didn't stay there, and I don't even like to dwell on it too much. But what I liked doing was figuring out. So like I was like, souls don't exist, and then I was like, what if I'm wrong about that? And that became my favorite thing. And then this guy literally writes a book called Soul Boom. And I still don't know if I think souls exist, but because I don't think language can capture everything. So like, yeah, but it's funny because I love language and I love talking about words, but language is not it. Like there's something deeper. So his book, and I love that his book started with a prelude where he was like, here's all the problems in the world. And that helped me so much for someone to acknowledge like, hey, I know what's going on, and now I'm going to tell you what I think. Because if he hadn't started with all those problems, it wasn't the most fun part of the book, but it grounded everything. And then like the part about like finding the bowl to like wash his dad's body or something, like that was insane. But the part that I liked the most was when he talked about, he's like, you don't have to be a specific religion. but there's activities you can do. And he said, meditation is listening and prayer is talking, and you shouldn't do one without the other. So after I read his book, I started praying, and I hadn't prayed since I was like 10 years old. And it was really interesting. And, cause I had tried meditating, but it was helping a lot, but it didn't fix me. Like, I still had to go to therapy. I still had to like rely on my friends. I still had to go running and get exercise and cook for myself, not just go to fast food. But, I didn't realize that I'd started trying to meditate like 7-8 years ago. And I didn't realize the other half of it is prayer, and prayer is talking, and meditation is listening. And I think they're both important. There's an infinite number of ways to do each of those activities. And I think a lot of what people don't like is like, it's the same thing as school. If somebody tells you like, this is the way you have to pray, or this is the way you have to meditate, that's not going to work for everybody. It's going to turn some people off. So I think it's cool that we can read books and sort of figure it out for ourselves. And I really liked his book.
It's a stunning endorsement. I cannot wait to send Ray the link to this episode. He's going to be really, really thrilled that someone like you, who's on a personal journey like yours, found some centering and some peace from some of the ideas he's put out there into the world.
For sure. I still like your book better. I like Lou's Well better. But
thank you so much.
Soul Boom is also cool.
Now, can I get back to fucking? Can I ask you some more questions about? Wait, what did you just say?
Can we co-write a book called Fuck Well?
Can me and you team up on a book? Fuck Well. How to go from lack of erection to professional sex god in 6 short months. Probably would sell way better than any other book I've ever written.
But that's another thing about life is that, I think because we got so used to like looking at graphs, we're like, oh, the peak of the graph is the important part. No way. Even if you write a book that's your most selling book, your least selling book is just as important.
That would be
on a graph of numbers.
Yeah, by far. The amount I was paid to write that book, the amount I was paid to write that book versus the amount of copies it sold, it's actually one of the biggest sources of anxiety in my life. I really bombed hard on that one, but that's okay.
I hope you see it as part of your whole process, and don't judge yourself for the numbers. Judge yourself that you did it, and you did, and I have a copy of it in my hand right now, and you rock.
Thank you so much. I'll also say this about that book. Sometimes it fills me with anxiety to think about how it didn't sell, but I also think about a lot of things in my life that changed because of the opportunity to write that book. And I have to trust that it's okay. And I'll leave it at that. But, I think I have said publicly, there was someone in my life who had massive medical bills that book helped pay for those bills. So how can I ever regret it? Even if I don't think I totally nailed that book. Which is strange, and not a story that, the specifics are something I can share publicly. But anyway, I want to listen. We only have a few minutes left, and I know where the bread is buttered. I know what gets people listening. You've talked about becoming a more attentive and focused lover, going from someone who, due to some combination of physical and psychological pornography dependence, could not even get an erection at some point, had to learn how to be a lover who based your philosophy of physical love on the concept of listening. You now have been told that you are so good in bed that you should be paid for it. there are some listeners to this show who I think are going to love that. Sex positive people who are pumping their fists in the air and so happy to hear it. There's also other callers who call our show who are maybe older and raised when discussions like this were kept behind closed doors. There's a lot of callers who call. We've had so many calls from people of different religious walks of life where religion can sometimes preclude openness about topics such as this. There are some people who don't want to hear more about it. There's some people who want to hear everything more about it. There's another type of person, though, who's wondering, what exactly does he mean? What happens if I get into bed with him? But there are some people wondering, what are the actual nuts and bolts of this caller's techniques that start with listening and then express themselves through some sort of raw physicality that has blown at least a few people's minds? So I'm wondering, how specific are you willing to get? What happens when you climb into bed with someone who is
very specific? But it all starts before the bedroom, because of course I think about the whole thing as a whole process. It's not just sex; it's the whole thing.
And we got 5.5 minutes left, and I think this is going to be it. So take us through it all.
So you have to intrigue someone. The person who I'm currently dating, a lot of it's about attention. So I liked every single Instagram post that they have. They had been following my Instagram for like 2 years, and I was like, who is this person who's actually paying attention to my art? This is amazing. But their Instagram doesn't have any pictures of them. So they do identify as gender fluid and prefer gender neutral pronouns. But anyway, so I didn't know what this person looked like, but then I started paying attention. I was like, holy crap, their art is amazing. And I liked everything. And I didn't just hit like on everything, because that doesn't mean anything. I actually looked at it and appreciated it. So like I could talk about it later, like, hey, what was going on in that one drawing where this thing happened? And a lot of people prefer to be asked questions, and it could be they all want to be asked questions about things that are good and things that are bad. If somebody's going through a hard time, you might be afraid to ask them about it, but sometimes they want to be asked about it. And if they don't want to talk about it, they can say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't actually want to talk about that right now. But they usually appreciate being asked. And with good stuff, I was like, hey, what is going on with this comic book that you're writing? Like, it looks amazing. So it starts with some attention and then some intrigue. I showed up to the art gallery and I brought my nose flute with me, and I played nose flute. And the person was like, oh my gosh, who is that person playing an instrument I've never heard of before? And so there was intrigue there, because you got to want to know more. And then I met the person, and so then you have to give compliments. I always tell them that they're beautiful, they're gorgeous, they're handsome, and I need the same thing. I feel so much better when somebody tells me I'm pretty, or somebody tells me I'm handsome, or I'm cute, but like, it's so tough because there's so many people who do it in skeezy ways that it makes people feel like you shouldn't do it at all. But if you can find like a safe, respectful way to do it, complimenting people is great. And that's one of the reasons I like being in a relationship, because I can compliment the other person all the time, but I'm not faking it. I really do think my partner is beautiful, and I tell them that. And then, we acknowledge that each other are nervous. Like when it came over, I was like, have you eaten anything? Are you hungry? And they were like, well, I haven't really eaten anything because I'm too nervous. And I said, I'm kind of nervous too. I made some brown rice that it has a little bit of veggie stock in it. Like that should be the most simple thing for a person's stomach. And they felt taken care of, because I didn't like force them to eat a bunch of food because they were nervous, but I offered, and we ate a little bit of food. And then I had prepared my space, like nesting behavior. Like I cleaned my fucking room. Like I know you have a story about that, about like getting frames for your posters and changing your bed and all that stuff. Like that's really important.
Yeah.
And I got these little electric lights, because I'm the type of person that I don't want to leave a candle on. And I think, and candles do, get the little book of Hygge, Hygge. It tells you like how to make a space cozy through the winter.
Sounds good. We've got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left.
Yeah. Oh, so I haven't even fucked yet, but I swear all this stuff's so much more important than actually fucking. So yeah, the space is nice. Get into the bedroom. You know, now I'm feeling a little anxiety even just talking about it, because I was in the moment. I didn't have a thing that I knew I wanted to happen. I even told the person, I was like, we don't have to have sex tonight. I just want to get to know you better, and I want to be close to you. So is that okay if we lay down together? And they said, yes, I'm comfortable with that. And, we talked a little bit, and then, started like petting each other, and that was going well, and started kissing, and you just have to be like soft with it. I mean, you can be aggressive if the other person's receptive to that, but I always start very soft, and like it's almost fun to me to see how barely I can do it. Like the lightest kiss ever. And then like it's a conversation. It's the same thing as prayer and meditation. You say something and then you listen.
One minute left.
Give a kiss a certain way, and the other person gives a kiss a certain way. You just use some lube. That's the answer, everyone. You use some lube. Yeah, I hadn't watched pornography in a couple of months. I was just really into this person, and we had lube. And we were respectful. And yeah, if you don't try to go in hard and fast, you go in real slow and gentle. That's basically it.
Nose flute, electric lights, and a whole lot of lube.
Yep. Well, not a whole lot, but the appropriate amount. You can always add more. It's a comfort thing. Like there's time in the future. We don't have to do everything right now. We could get more lube later if we need to. We could just kiss right now, and we could fuck next week if we need to. Like nothing has to happen right now. It's a relaxation.
Our time is up on what everyone agrees is an all-time classic. Can't thank you enough. You are a Touchtone subscriber. I know that because you have this number, and this is one of our monthly calls just for the Touchtone subscribers. Are you down to hang out?
For sure.
For the 5 questions, which you know as well as anyone. The 5 questions often are way more scattered than the actual calls.
Yeah. Yep.
Combining your energy with the 5 questions might honestly break this podcast. Would you agree with that?
I refuse to break the podcast. It's going to be okay. I'm ready for whatever happens. And if it breaks, we can fix it.
Caller, cannot thank you enough. I have a feeling this one is going to resonate in a big way, and that a lot of people are going to love it. Thank you so much for sharing, opening up, and for anybody who's not over at beautifulanonymous.com, telling you, not trying to shill too hard. I don't always do this at the end. There's some very big emotional turns in the 5 questions this week that are so beautiful. And I thank you for sharing over there as well. Thank you to the High Priestess, Andrea Quinn. Thank you to Shellshag for our theme music. If you want to know more about me, punchup.live/Chris Geth. Includes tickets to all my shows. We got a voicemail line, 973-306-4676. We got an Instagram, Beautiful Anonymous Pod. We also got a TikTok, but nobody's really watching the TikTok. I don't know. Maybe you'll like the TikTok. Check it out. So don't forget to join the Facebook group, Beautiful Anonymous, the community. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions.
I feel like our culture has a lot of stuff about like no regrets and stuff. And then it makes it feel like if you regret something that you're doing something wrong. It's totally okay to regret something. Like your feelings are valid. And I think, yeah, that's where words kind of like mess people up. Cause like no regrets is a fine like goal or aspiration, but it just loses so much of the nuance. That's why we need books and conversations, not just like slogans.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.
You know that feeling when you're about to score 30% off, but they want your number? Ugh. Give them your Line 2 number instead. It's a second line on your phone, perfect for nabbing promo codes without inviting spam to your party. Sign up for every discount under the sun, then block the junk texts that follow. You get all the perks, but none of the spammy baggage. More codes, less chaos. Visit line2.com/audio or download Line 2 in the App Store and get your shopping sidekick today. Because the only thing blowing up your phone should be good deals.